Good morning. I am Fred Krapps, and I'm your worship associate today. This morning's service is going to be quite a change from what we typically do. We will be learning about Hinduism and celebrating one of its key festivals, Holi. But before we begin this journey, let's take a moment and silence our electronic devices, please. Reverend Michelle is away today, and joining us at the pulpit today for the first time is GPUU member Sarah Mahler. She will introduce herself and tell you more about today's service.
Thank you, Fred. Good morning. We're dealing with multiple scripts, and for my first time, for sure. As Fred mentioned, my name is Sarah Mahler, and I've prepared today's service. I joined Granite Peak about 4 years ago when we moved from Prescott to Prescott from Florida, where I was a professor of anthropology at Florida International University for quite some years. While in Florida, I was a member of a number of Unitarian groups, and the last one was a very small lay-led group called Mosaic. Today's service is very similar to the one I gave at Mosaic 6 years ago, and I'll tell you more about that connection a little later in the service. If you're visiting for the first time with us today, or you've been away for a while, I'd like to extend a very special and warm welcome to you. We're glad you're here. For those of you who come regularly, and I recognize many of your faces, get ready for some change, because today's service will be unusual. Most of the service elements that you're used to will be here, but many of them, particularly in the second part of the service, will not occur in their usual order. As an anthropologist, we like to mix it up, so change your perspective a little. After the message that I give, the children will come for the rest of the service for a story of all ages. And they will stay for the rest of the service, as I said before, and they will be passing out colorful lays to you for the last chant that we have. And they've also participated in this service by preparing some Indian food to enjoy after the service in Davis Hall. So I really want to thank Sandra and Religious Educational overall for participating in this. We've been coordinating this for a number of weeks. Also want to give a shout out to Martin and his dog, his puppy, for working a lot on making sure that the music for this service, which is all recorded chants, come through, and for helping to change the slides. I'm glad to see that some of you read the description of this service and came in kind of bright colors, right? That's terrific. And greetings to those on Zoom, and I do hope that you enjoy the service and participate in singing and dancing at home. The last thing to say is that because this is an unusual service and it's a bit complicated, please expect and even embrace a few glitches.
We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting a chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Kelsey Wilkes. Today we light the chalice with these words from one of the Vedas, a Hindu sacred text. O seeker, know the true nature of your soul and identify yourself with it completely. O Lord, may we attain the everlasting consciousness of supreme light and joy. May we resolve to dedicate our life to the service of humanity and uplift them to divinity.
Today we will learn about and celebrate Hinduism. You are invited to experience it through its stories, cosmology, beliefs, and its music. Where we would normally be singing hymns, you are invited to participate in chants. I recommend listening to a chant all the way through once and then joining in as you are accustomed to the chant. During the chants, except the last one, which I'll explain later, it's best probably to just stay in your seats. Maybe you want to fold your hands in prayer and read on the screen the words, the lyrics, the words. After we extinguish the chalice later on in the service, we will have the final chant, and that will be your invitation, as I'll explain a little bit later, for you to get up, move in the aisles, dance, and so on and so forth. That's going to be the grand finale with the children present. And I know Bronwyn's been looking forward to this oh, look, she's been looking forward to it for months. So our opening chant and its translation will now be shown on the screen. Right, Martin? Okay, there we go. And he will play it through. You can see the translation, but the words will be sung in the blue thing. And it actually is very easy to sing, so enjoy. Next slide for the stewardship movement. Thank you.
Buenos días, alegría. Granite Peak members and friends, amigos míos. My name is Sarah Guadalupe Anamo Palacios Casillas Castillo, aka Sarah. I'm the faith development coordinator. This is really difficult for me. It's like elephants in my chest, but I believe in the program and I have great faith, and you guys too. We contribute a lot to the social justice and the awareness of the kids' development.
Hello, my name is Ainsley O'Donnell, and I help on Sundays in the children's program and help lead the program when Sandra and Susan are traveling out of town. I enjoy teaching and working with our kids with Audrey, and my son is also enrolled. Each Sunday in our children's program, we cover a different topic, either on religion, current events, social justice, or other culture, and then we'll do a related activity or craft that we can share with the rest of our congregation.
Okay, let's say for today, tomorrow's going to be Martin Luther King. We studied about Martin Luther King's children, and they also did a little piece part, and they put there, I have a dream. Some said peace, I have a dream. And they put equality. And one put the world to be a better place. There are our future. Like Whitney Houston said, children are our future.
And I'm Susan Prado. I'm Sandra's partner and Sunday morning volunteer. Here at Granite Peak, we're creating future leaders. Invest in our future leaders. The world needs their light more than ever.
Sí se puede.
I'm Audrey. I've been at Granite Peak for a long time. My family got here first. I am the student assistant currently. I work with the kids on Sundays, and thank you for members and friends for generously supporting the children's classes since I was a little kid here. I think faith development is super important because it's a great space that the kids can come over here and learn a little bit about what their parents are hearing about, as well as learn new activities, new ways of expressing themselves, and seeing what other kids are doing as well. I'm super grateful to be a part of this. I grew up in this room too, so it's super fun seeing the little kids that I used to see as toddlers growing up in here too.
Please invest in our future leader. De todo corazón.
Thank you for your generous donations that help fund our children's program development, including our activities and the wonderful space.
Everybody's contributions are important. We love seeing the kids here, and so we thank everybody for their stewardship and their contributions as well.
Thank you, muchas gracias, namaste.
Please pledge your support.
Thank you so much.
Please join me in saying the words to our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather here each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This month's recipient is the PRISM Network, as you can see on the screen. The network supports our local LGBTQ+ community in many ways, including suicide prevention and connecting people to important resources. Their work is particularly critical during this time of rising homophobia, anti-queer violence, and drastic reductions in gender-affirming services. Please give as generously as you can or able. Each Sunday, half the plate offering as well as designated checks are given to the local organization like PRISM Network. If you'd like your entire check to go, please write it on the memo line. If you'd like to contribute online, and I think we have several people online with us today, please visit our website at prescottuu.org. During the offering, another chant will be playing as background music. Martin, you can start the chant now, please. And ushers, you may now take the collection. Well, that was a sudden change there. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Amen, and blessed be. Beloved community is at the heart of Granite Peak UU congregation. As we experience this time of meditation and music, we take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns in our hearts and minds. If there is an event that moves you to joy or concern, hope or gratitude, grief or remembrance, you are invited to come forward and drop a pebble from this dish into our communal waters as an affirmation of our connection to one another. The music accompanying us today translates to Music for a Peaceful Planet. I will drop the first stone in memory of those people, the tragic loss of life in the avalanche in California. Martin, can you now take out the chant, please? Oh, I've lost my place. Okay, today our response is slightly different from what we normally do. It reflects the response practiced by Sarah's previous congregation in Florida. I will read the leaders section. You please read the congregational parts in the next 2 slides. May our joys and concerns surrounded by the healing waters of our beloved community be acknowledged here today. May all these joys and concerns be enfolded in the warmth of this community.
As you most likely know, meditation is a very common Hindu practice. Therefore, it not only deserves to be part of today's service, it also aids us in feeling the deep spiritual side of Hindus' daily life. I've moved this element of our service up so it helps us transition from our typical Unitarian service liturgy to one where we can more fully focus on Hindu traditions. Please get comfortable where you are. Put your feet on the ground, maybe put your hands in prayer position if you'd like. Close your eyes if you wish. And Martin will play a very short meditative chant, which we'll repeat as most chants do. And then we'll have a minute of silence for you to meditate, think, and reflect. Good morning again. I hope you've enjoyed this service so far. I'm going to move to the message part of the service, introducing Hinduisms and particularly celebrating Holi, but I thought I would begin maybe just talking a little bit about what a huge week this past week has been for global religions and cultural celebrations. As you may know, in the space of less than 48 hours, Ramadan and Lent both began. Tuesday was both Mardi Gras and Chinese New Year. There were 3 different lunar calendars all aligning, and the last time that had happened was during the Civil War, and the next time that will happen is, well, way beyond our existence, at least unless we're reincarnated. It will happen again apparently on 2188. So why, you might ask, would we be celebrating the Hindu festival of Holi on this particular day? And well, there's some quotidian kinds of reasons. There's definitely Reverend Michelle was out of town, and so there was a need for a service. But I'll talk a little bit more about my personal reasons, one of which is to honor my prior congregation in Central Florida called Mosaic. And it was during 6 years ago, in the beginning of March, as you may recall, what was going on, and pandemic, we were just getting word about the pandemic, and so this service was the last in-person service that congregation got to experience, because after this particular service and celebration, we had to go to a virtual format, and then we never reconvened in a physical space anymore. So it's a very special service to me and to Mosaic. I think it's also very important that we celebrate multiple different religious traditions. And so as an anthropologist, I think that's particularly great, but I also know that that's part of being Unitarian. In the late 2018 to early 2019, I spent 6 weeks in India. I had a really, really wonderful time. I was primarily there for my academic reasons, but I got to go and visit many different cities, and my daughter joined me. I was not there for Holi, but I believe that Lena and Russ were there, right? So you were there 1 year. Anybody else have been? Okay, we have a couple of people who've been able to celebrate Holi, so that's terrific. Holi is a classic spring festival. It's about the renewal of the earth. It's a little more like May Day than it is Easter in our calendar. And it's full of color and dancing and lots of fun, really great celebration for children in particular. We're celebrating a little early. This year it occurs on March 3rd to 4th. But last and certainly not least, it's also a very important festival with an ancient story of good triumphing over evil. You'll be hearing that story when the children come in a little while for the story for all ages. But I think you'll understand why it's so important for us today. So I'm going to begin really to talk about Hinduism with some background information. It's far too complex to cover in one sermon, let alone a lifetime, really. And I'm certainly no expert. If you want to know more about Hinduism, you might better be talking to Marianne Clark than myself. My background is, although I'm an anthropologist, was really in international migrations, particularly from Latin America and the Caribbean. But I want to provide a little background information about Hinduism to provide the context to understand this story of, for all ages of Holi. So the service is really more about Holi than Hinduism, but I hope it whets your appetite to learn more. As you probably know, Hinduism is one of the oldest world religions. The origins go back approximately 4,000 years to when people started migrating into the Indian subcontinent. But it's not the term, Hindu is not the term that these people gave to themselves. Rather, it was a label given to them by Persians and Greeks As an anthropologist, I know that this is very common, that the term that people use to refer to themselves is not the term that they become known by. In our own backyard, we have the Navajo, right? Well, their name for themselves is Diné, which translates to the people. And that is pretty much what everyone calls themselves. We are the people. Let's not get into what everybody else is, but we are the people. So Hindu is the others labeling this group as Hindus. Like many other religions, Hinduism started out as a series of beliefs and stories that were told verbally from generation to generation, and only later they were written down into texts, sacred texts, which are called the Vedas. And those, the Rig Veda is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, which has like 1,000 chants and prayers in it. Then these sacred texts have been reinterpreted in a series of texts called the Upanishads. I'm probably mispronouncing some of these words. I should have looked at everything up before coming before you, but there were going to be a few glitches, right? One of the most epic stories, and probably one that you're somewhat familiar with, is the Bhagavad Gita. And there's a very rich history of these practices. I'm going to speak very briefly about some basic Hindu beliefs and principles. I'm sure many of you have heard the names. You may not know what they signify. Dharma, karma, reincarnation, and nirvana are the ones I will briefly cover. I'll start with reincarnation because most people know what reincarnation means, but not necessarily how central it is to other Hindu beliefs and principles. So if you're raised to believe that your soul will be reincarnated in a next life, and indeed maybe many next lives, and it also represents lives lived prior to your life, then that can have a strong influence on how you live your life. And believing that you're going to be, your soul, not you, but your soul will be reincarnated. Dharma is the notion, and these are my own understandings, this is not, quotations. Dharma is fulfilling your station in life, whatever that might be. So as many of you know, among Hindus in India, you're born into your station in life, which others call caste, right, or subcaste, and there are many of them. That you cannot change, but you can live your life to fulfill whatever station you received in life, and that's dharma. Karma interacts with reincarnation, which is the idea that if you do good things in life, like worship the deities, and be kind to others, you increase the likelihood that when your soul is reincarnated, the new life that will be lived will improve upon your current one. However, the opposite is also true. If you do not live your life well, if you do evil or are mean to other people or do not worship well, the next life will be worse. It's a bit like God judging us, at Judgment Day, except we have, in Hinduism, we have a lot more control over that judgment, right? We have some control over that. Nirvana is the notion of being able to escape reincarnation by reaching enlightenment. In other words, the supreme truth. So you're going to continue to be reincarnated and reincarnated until, if you are able to reach nirvana. Now, as many of you probably know, there's a huge pantheon of deities that Hindus believe in and worship. A bit later, I'm going to introduce the three most important male gods, and Vishnu in particular, who plays a very key role in our festival today of Holi. And he's very important for other reasons too, but we'll find out about that. So an interesting comparison, and anthropologists are known for comparing and contrasting, is that despite having sacred texts, a pantheon of gods, and so on, there's no unified dogma or creed to Hinduism. There's no founder of the religion, no Christ or Buddha or Muhammad. There's also no Hindu authority, no organization like the Roman Catholic Church, which basically tries to develop and enforce particular views and practices over others. Rather, there are many deities as well as many ways of venerating people. This creates a great deal of flexibility for worshipers. Hindus practice their faith in diverse ways that reflect their own ideas, needs, social position, and traditions. There's a lot of personal altars, personal ways of venerating that you see in people's homes. Martin, you could change the slide if you would. And there are many different temples and venerations of deities that you see on the streets everywhere in India and wherever Hindus are located. So there's no real one way to be Hindu. It's best really to talk about Hindu traditions or maybe even Hinduisms. And I think there are some parallels between that and Unitarianism. However, Hinduism is one of the largest religions in the world. There are approximately around 1 billion people, about 15% of the world population who identify as Hindu. That's the third largest faith after Christianity, roughly 30%, and Islam, which is approximately a quarter of all people who practice known religions. In India, there are many faiths. About 75% of people identify as Hindu, about 15% is Muslim, 2% Christian, 2% Sikh, and there are a number of others. So I'm going to transition now to the understanding a little bit about the origin story of Holi, to talk about, well, to look at the god Vishnu. As I mentioned before, there are many different deities, many both male and female goddesses, various ranks, relations, reincarnations. Reincarnations are often referred to as avatars among Hindus. They may seem very strange to people like who are not familiar with all of this different pantheon of deities, but they're a little like the Greek or Roman gods, if you're familiar with that. They blend human and superhuman qualities and are readily identifiable to worshipers through things like how they dress and the objects they carry and so on. With the major exception of the beloved elephant-headed deity Ganesha, which we have down here on the down here by the bowls. Most Hindu gods have completely human-looking bodies and faces. Each is known by their bodily form and their personality. They have personalities, and they have different powers, and they have different weaknesses. They have different things they carry. They have different colors associated with them, and so on. They also are involved in alliances and competitions with other deities. Sounds kind of human, right? Well, there are festivals devoted to them and temples and so on. So as I mentioned just briefly, the deities also have reincarnations. So you not only have to learn what the major deity is, but also its multiple reincarnations. And that really brings us to the next part, is the three key or prominent male gods, since they are the creators, preservers, and destroyers of the universe. So Martin, if you would move to the next slide. There we go. Great. Here you see the three primary male gods everyone would know. Brahman, who is not shown, is the supreme spirit. He created the world and produced humans. Hindus believe that Brahman created all deities as well. Brahma, who is on the left of your screen, is the secondary creator of the universe. He is the one that breathes souls into people. He has 4 faces that represent the 4 corners of the universe. He holds a sacrificial ladle, the 4 Vedas or holy texts, a jar of holy water from the Ganges River, and a necklace of prayer beads. Again, you can readily identify. He's also sitting on a lotus flower, as you can see in this image. Vishnu is in the middle. Vishnu is the really important one for today for us. He's the preserver. His main role is to maintain a balance in the universe after it's created. And he is the mediator between forces of good and evil in that universe. And this is one of the reasons why Vishnu and his various avatars or reincarnations are very much revered by Hindus. So Vishnu's job is, Brahma's job is to create a universe, Vishnu is to maintain it, and then we have to destroy the universe. And that's the job of Shiva, who you see on your right-hand side. He's the destroyer. All universes have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They complete their cycle, and Shiva's job is bringing that end. He's responsible also for change in both the form of death of our cycle of life, right? And in the positive sense of helping us shed bad habits. So anything you want to get rid of, you go to Shiva for that. Anything you want to preserve, you would go to Vishnu, and for creation, to Brahma. So these three gods interact to create, maintain, destroy, and renew the world over and over and over again. And in anthropology, we know that there typically are multiple gods in agricultural societies that represent the whole process of planting, which is creation, right? Tending to, which is maintaining and bringing up the things that we need, animals and plants and so on. And then we also have the harvest and then the fallow time, which is the kind of death cycle. So that's very common. In societies that are not agricultural, like food foraging societies and those of the Middle East, which were pastoral, we tend to see a very different cosmology. So anthropologists will often associate a cosmology with the kind of mode of production of the society. So enough said about that. It's now time to get ready for Holi, and I see the children are coming. So this brings us to celebrating Holi. The children are coming in, and we welcome them coming forward over here to enjoy the story for all ages. Thank you, Martin, for moving the slide. After the story, Fred will have the chalice extinguished, and after the chalice is extinguished, Martin will show the final slide with the final chant, which is when we're going to be able to get up and dance. And the children also, as you can see, as they're coming in, they have these really wonderful, colorful leis. They could come right forward, Sandra, bring them all the way, yep.
So now join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.